morning. The Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation will come to order. This morning we're having a hearing on spectrum and national security, and appreciate the witnesses being here today. Today's hearing will focus on the interrelationship of these two critical factors, spectrum auction authority and national security, and getting a plan to move forward. Foreign adversaries access Americans' data is a real and growing concern, and we must act to shut the door to protect Americans. But we are seeing this conversation around applications and devices, and we need to consider the national security of communications networks themselves. So really appreciate our witnesses being here on that point. The network relies on spectrum, whether it's cell phones in our pockets, connected devices in our homes, critical defense systems in our military, radar, satellites for aviation, weather infrastructure spectrum, all essential components of a modern communication system. Spectrum is a finite resource, which means policymakers must ensure and manage it effectively to the benefits of all Americans. And last year, after 30 years of consensus that auctions were a key part of spectrum management, the FCC's spectrum authority expired for the first time. We want to renew that. We want to look at today and discuss the outer bands, the 12 and 37 and AWS, and what we can do to make sure spectrum is made available now, to continue to increase capacity, expand the opportunities for new technology and IoT, and leverage the opportunities for areas that aren't covered today to grow our economy of the future. We must also ensure that spectrum is managed, and our national security colleagues who have been in a very active debate with us over these issues, that we are expanding this capacity for innovation. The private sector and the defense sector both need to advance. They need to advance successfully, and the United States must be the leader in spectrum technology and security. We have seen firsthand the threats of our foreign adversaries that they pose to the domestic communication telenetwork. For example, the presence of unsecure equipment for Huawei and ZTE, and our key domestic military installations impacted our communities. Rural providers across the nation, including my home state, are having to replace unsecure equipment costing billions of dollars. And as development begins on next-generation wireless networks, it's critical the United States take a unified approach and continue to have the best spectrum policies in the world. It's clear that spectrum policy has often been the subject of interagency disputes, and that too with the report that was published by NTIA and DoD on dynamic spectrum sharing moved the discussion to a new level, but more needs to be done. The domestic approach to spectrum management built on collaboration will allow the United States to continue to lead on the international front. The FCC, NTIA, and NASA, DoD, and others must work together to ensure that we continue to work openly and collectively. Spectrum management must also embrace innovation like O-RAN, and which we will hear more about today, which will allow telecom providers to use secure, competitive networks. And innovation must expand spectrum access with technologies like the dynamic spectrum sharing harness the opportunities. Other collective spectrum management and technology innovation, I believe we can create a true pipeline. That's what we really want to do. We want to get what we can get now, get it in place, and continue to grow the opportunities. A sustainable, responsible vision will allow us to move forward on both our private sector and our DoD missions. For this to happen, we must restore the FCC's auction authority, and our strategy should include approaches on unlicensed and licensed spectrum. Today's hearing is about the national security element of that, and clearly once we address that, hopefully we will get our colleagues to focus on how to make these priorities a reality and create that kind of pipeline that will allow us to deal with some of our necessary issues for us to grow this security for the future. So with that, I'll turn to the ranking member, Senator Cruz, for his opening statement.